again, remember to try and draw about the same scale as I am. So I'm going to try and fill up this page, or come close to filling up this page with one of these grills. Let me continue to emphasize, we're getting to the point where when we're drawing these objects, you really want to think about how you're going to set this up. You know, where this object sits on that perspective grid that we talked about. Is it above the horizon line in zone 1, or is it below the horizon line? And so with a barbecue grill, if we think about its relationship to a person that's walking up to it, the top of the barbecue grill is below the horizon line, right? We'll see a little bit of the top. And obviously there are times when you are going to draw something that you want to maybe even make it overly dramatic, and you see a lot of product images where they'll take a small object and they'll get up really close to it, and the horizon line of that image when they take that photograph is right in the middle of the object, even though it's a small object, and that there's purpose and intent behind it. But by default, you kind of want to draw something as we would relate to it as human beings, and particularly for us, probably as adult human beings. So we've got, you know, a horizon line somewhere around 5.5 feet, or maybe just a little bit lower. Some of us are taller, some of us are larger. This first one that we're going to draw on this side of the page, I'm just going to start with a leading edge. Again, we're going to sketch these in 3-point perspective, but I'm going to establish my perspective in thinking about how I relate to this grill. And so, whereas typically I will start drawing on the bottom corner of my leading edge, this time I'm actually going to start up at the top. So I'm going to say, you know what, my grill is going to be about here, and so my angle is going to be fairly shallow because it's getting close to that horizon line. And in fact, on this one, we're going to put it right on the vertical horizon, so my angles will be the same. We'll make it this first one a little bit easier. These angles should be about the same. And then I'm not going to see a whole lot of the top, but I will see some of the top, right? So I'm going to start out with just a tall rectangle. But because I want to seem like I'm fairly close to this object, I'm going to exaggerate the convergence a little bit. So the difference between that top angle, which was fairly shallow, and these bottom angles, I want to establish a pretty significant convergence. And then I'm also going to, again, sketch this in 3-point perspective, so the outside edges, and I'm going to adjust as I go. I'm probably going to adjust my proportion a little bit. In fact, this is a little bit wider than what I want to sketch right now, so I'm going to bring that left edge in. And this grill is going to, this first one is going to be fairly straight, rectilinear in nature. I'm going to put a small angle on the top of my grill. Actually, let's make it a little bit larger. So I'm just going to pick a point right here. The grill is going to face the left. I'll pick a point right there and put just a simple angle in. I'm going to carry that line over, thinking about my convergence to this back edge. And now it's just connect the dots. That establishes that angle on the far side. I actually think my proportion is still a little bit too wide going back, so I'm going to bring this in just a little bit. And we'll work on some vignettes and backgrounds today as well. So now this is the back edge of my grill. It's not quite as deep as it was earlier. The lid, I'm thinking about, you know, putting like a turkey breast or something in this thing, and so I need it to be tall enough. That's going to be the bottom of my lid. I'll carry that over. And I'm going to establish kind of the front of this thing. I'm actually going to carry it up and then carry an offset line from that top angle back. I need to give this some kind of handle out front, and so I'm going to extend that angle out past the front of my grill. And just, again, this is a fairly simple one. Give it somewhat of a rectilinear handle. Establish the thickness of that handle. And remember, all of my vertical lines still are converging. So this edge out here, I want to make sure it's converging. I'm going to go just up from where that lid meets the body of this grill. I'm going to come straight out. So that line's going over towards the left vanishing point. And then this is the height of my handle. So I'm going to darken in the handle so everybody can see it. Darken in my lid. Now, a lot of these gas grills, similar to what I'm sketching, it will have what's called a firebox. That holds all the internal components, the burners. And I really like this design. The base itself, the front of this thing is kind of cantilevered, and the base, where I would put the gas, just extends out. So this is a simple one. Again, what I want you to do is think about how to apply a little bit of a three-line weight. So here's what we're going to do with this drawing. Oh, there's one last thing I want you to do here. I want you to draw a contour. Well, it's not really a contour. I want you to draw a section line running up through the center of this grill. And so what this does in this instance is that center line helps us see the gap that exists between the lid and the handle. So just by putting that section line in here, just right in this area, it helps us see that gap between the handle and the lid. It's just another advantage to putting section lines in certain areas. If you want to put one going across this way, and I'll show you, this will help you see what I mean by what these little fireboxes do. This is just a right angle, but that firebox actually angles in like that. And so, again, by putting the section line in here, I can establish and show the viewer that this little firebox is set inside this object. It's offset to the inside. And let's just put some simple little flame logo right on that front. That's a little low. So there's our drawing, but here's what I want you guys to do. Let's just take what you've got and let's go over it with our tools. And ideally, what you guys are doing is you're sketching this stuff a little bit lighter. I'm going to knock my opacity back just a little bit. And I'm going to get my tool, which actually it would be better if I just used a straight edge. But, and let's think about 3 line weight again. Yes, I want you to. This straight edge the reason why I wanted to start with this on this exercise is hopefully it'll help you see that 3-point perspective. We should be getting fairly comfortable drawing 2-point perspective, but make sure that you're using your straight edge and you're sketching this thing in a way that you're establishing that 3-point perspective. One thing that I like to do, look up for just a second. If I'm using like my felt tip pen and I know that there's a gap between 2 parts, right here I'm actually going to pick up my pen and move it. And it doesn't do a whole lot. Let me just zoom in to what's going on right there. It's not like extremely noticeable what's happening right here, but it is maybe noticeable enough to see that gap to where almost subconsciously we pick up on there are 2 separate parts there. And in fact, while I'm in this area, let me kind of show you a couple of things. Since this is a lid and we're trying to clean up this drawing, and I know this isn't going to show up as well as probably I'm going to show it up on this really large zoomed in area. But I'm going to draw one line that's maybe a number 2 on the line weight scale, and then I'm just going to sketch another one that's maybe a 1 just below it. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a really dark kind of line showing that that's going back right here. And again, it's something that's very subtle but can make the difference in being able to read this. I may do the same thing here. You know, this is going to be like a 1 line weight right here, but I'm going to pick up that pen right where those connect. So here's a question. Should the front edge of this and the back edge of the grill lid that's at an angle, should those be converging? Yeah, a little bit. Pick that pen up, move it over. Is this helping your drawing out?